Hey, thank you very much for tuning in. All right, so here's a really great graph, right? I've been wanting to do this video for a while. It really shows the mainstream narrative and how folly it is compared to the actual embryologically grounded position that is, based in science, right? So this is what we're talking about here, and this is the nonsense that these people are propagating. So we'll get into that right now. All right, so the starting of a human life, of you, right? So at fertilization, right, a zygote is formed, right? Genetically unique, capable of development, right? And what you want to call it, zygote, morula, blastocyst, fetus, a baby, an infant, toddler, a child, an adolescent, an adult, a senior citizen. It's the same. It's a person. It's a human life, right? So at here, a fertilization, a zygote is formed, um, and this is the starting of a human life. But the mainstream media, the mainstream medical or pharmaceutical narrative, it starts at implantation, right? But what starts at implantation? See, they shifted from the woman is pregnant, but it's actually, the baby is alive, right? So the starting of a pregnancy doesn't really have anything to do with the woman. That's just the mother of the child, right? The starting of a pregnancy has to do with the baby. Right, right. So they're trying to shift the thing that the pregnancy has everything to do with the mother. Okay, well the mother is very important in a pregnancy. We know that, but also the father has a lot to do with the whole whole pregnancy happening in the first place. So the implantation is certainly not when an embryo embeds in the uterine lining. That is nonsense, right? So scientific consensus on genetics support fertilization as the beginning of a new human life. All right, so this is I think this is the most beautiful part. The zygotic genome activation occurs within a few hours to a few days after fertilization, marks the beginning of autonomous gene expression. Right, and the mainstream medical narrative can hardly ever mention that, rarely mention, if ever, not a factor in defining pregnancy or life in mainstream sources. They can't, right? If they were to mention that, um, their whole argument, falls, it crumbles to the floor, right? So the zygotic genome activation is a crucial biological milestone, but overlooked in public discourse. So the definition of pregnancy, it begins at fertilization, conception equals pregnancy, right? But it was redefined in 1965 when these, how should I say, how should I call this? The suffragettes, right, were getting these gynecology associations and all this stuff. Um, so it does not begin at implantation. That's nonsense. But this shift allowed hormonal birth control to be labeled as non-abortifacient, right? Non-abortifacient. Look at this word. Look at this foolishness. But it's not. It is abortifacient, right? So the effect of hormonal birth control, right? So sometimes prevents ovulation, but may allow ovulation and fertilization, alters endometrium to block implantation, right? But the mainstream medical narrative will claim that to prevent ovulation, thicken cervical mucus, and prevent pregnancy, right? So when fertilization occurs, but implantation fails due to artificial changes, this is post-fertilization intervention. This is early abortion, right? This is the problem here. All right, so the terminology is right. Conception is fertilization. Is the starting of life. Is the starting of a pregnancy, right? But the current conception is not fertilization, right? The pregnancy redefined to beginning after the implantation. What kind of folly are you pushing here, the pharmaceutical industry? That's nonsense, right? We know that that's not even true, right? This is a complete lie, right? So this shift enables downplaying of post-fertilization effects, right? What is the post-fertilization effect? It's the altering of the endometrium, which caused the early abortions, right? The baby boy, the fully functional, viable pregnancy, the baby boy or baby girl will die. Unfortunately, this is a tragic, tragic, tragic event. You know, oh, it's just that the blastocyst that failed to implant. Well, your dehumanization tactics are not going to work here on this channel. Certainly not. So this is a baby boy, right? So the abortifacient action. So yes, right. If implantation is blocked after fertilization, it ends a human life before birth, right? So, but then the mainstream narrative will say no. If pregnancy is defined to start only after implantation, then pre-implantation loss is not an abortion. This is a semantic workaround to maintain legal and ethical acceptance, right? And this argument is completely based in. Um, just a pile of mud, right, on the floor on a rainy day. There's no basis in science or ethics or any kind of science or facts or truth or law or evidence or anything like that, right? This is nonsense. Just the only thing that these guys have going for it, like I said, is the pile of mud on the floor after a rainy day, right? There's a pile of mud there. It's very very dirty. That's the only thing that would go. That's the only thing they have going for them. But see, the problem is that implantation is blocked, and then it will end the human life, right? This is a tragic, tragic, tragic event. So the baby boy, baby girl, that had their whole life, ahead of them, right? Because they are a baby, will die, right? That's the problem. Transparency to women. Women deserve to know that pills may not prevent fertilization and may end early life, but marketing claims focus on prevention of pregnancy with no mention of abortifacient or post-fertilization, effects, right? So many women are unaware of embryological facts due to the vague or misleading language, or due to Dr. Michelle Dow actually plain out lying to them, right? The implication is that these will prevent uh, the uh, the conception, but it doesn't, right? So the ethical implications. So blocking implantation after fertilization is not morally neutral. It adds a nascent human life. It ends a nascent human life. Sorry. So it ends a new baby's boy or baby girl's life. I mean, this is their life, and you're killing a baby, right? This is insane. This is ridiculous, right? So this will assume that early embryos have no moral status until implantation, right? So this is nonsense, right? This is an ethical, non-scientific assumption, right? So this is this is absolutely folly here. It assumes that embryos have no moral status until implantation, right? The starting of human life doesn't have anything to do just because they want to, have a nice quarter every quarter, and they make a lot of money. Right, they make lots and lots of gains, huge gains, right? Huge money here. It's all about the money, but I remember this one police officer. He said, why do drug dealers, right? There's one drug just this story is incredibly ironic, but extremely perverse. That these drug dealers are saying, "Why are you?" It was about fentanyl, whatever, fentanyl. The police officer was like, "Yeah, why do you want to kill your own customers, right?" Well, it's a little bit like this, except the police officers are dishonorable. They're not even indicting these murderers, right? But that's beside the point. Why would you want to kill your customers, right? So these people are being killed. I mean, because they're making so much money right now, but they're not thinking about the future because they want to make the money right now. They're killing so many, into the thousands, or hundreds of thousands of lives are gone, right? It's incredible. It's really incredible what is actually happening here. So the pharmaceutical and legal motive, we're going to finish up here. Full transparency could classify the pill as an abortive agent, public rejection, and legal restrictions, right? So marketing as contraceptive avoids abortion-related controversies, and redefinitions protect pharmaceutical and political interests. All right, so a good one here. We got a really, very nice chart here. It really does show their folly next to. You know what? There's the truth is so much more beautiful when compared to lies and deceit. I always said that, the truth is so much more beautiful when compared to lies and deceit. And it really, really is, right? When you're comparing the nonsense of the mainstream medical and pharmaceutical narrative to the embryologically grounded position, it's a no-brainer, right? It's just incredible to see how many people just are so warped. Their whole worldview is warped into this mainstream narrative, and they'll believe it forever until they die. Right? It's like a religion. It's like a cult, right? These people are in a cult. They believe this nonsense, right? And they'll stick with it. They're going with it all the way, right? Yeah, reminds me of like a quarterback, right? You throw the ball at him, he's going with it all the way to the to to the finish line there. Forget my football terminology. I don't watch football very much, but that's what it seems to me. But I mean, it's flawed, right? It's flawed. You can see it's flawed, right? I'll see you. Take care. Bye bye.